Hello everyone, and welcome to the Apartheid Museum's podcast series that we refer to as Voices of Memory. My name is Ntuli, and I'm with my colleague Tshabalala.
A very good day, everyone, and welcome to the Apartheid Museum podcast.
Thank you. And just to say that this very, very special episode is actually part of a launch of an educational and cultural initiative called Beyond Maibuye. It's a project that is sponsored by UNESCO and Javet UP. It shines a light on the countries we refer to as the frontline states that assisted South Africa during our liberation struggle. And also it poses a very crucial question as to how do we preserve this history, make it relevant and meaningful to the next generation. And so to help us answer this question is former ambassador, Mr. George Nkosinathi Twala. Sir, first of all, thank you.
Thank you.
We are honored. Thank you for the time you've taken to be here and to just work with us and tell us this very important story. Please tell us where you were born, where you grew up, and your life before you entered politics.
Yes. I'm a last born in a family of 6. I was born in 1955.
55. Yes.
I was born in White City, Jabavu, in a family of 5 others, so it was 6 of us as siblings. White City is in Soweto. Where I was born literally meant I am an African. I'm a non-white. I don't want to use a K word, which was a favorite word used by the oppressors at the time. So the conditions under which I was born and grew up, there were hardly any amenities for us as children. I'm referring to basic issues, really, daycare centers, etc. I was born in an area where there were pirates and swines, black swines. These are gangsters that peopled my surroundings. It wasn't safe to travel, to walk around at night. Well, I was a child, but I couldn't be put on my mom's back and she takes a stroll around, unless if she were to do that, I'm sure she would have been asking for trouble, given the circumstances at the time. So being born there clearly said I was born in an area which was, by design, underprivileged. So those are the surroundings under which I grew up. Yes.
I know, Mdu, you had a question.
Well, I can't help but keep wondering how you came about involving yourself into the struggle against apartheid. I get to understand how precarious it was for you as a political activist back then to challenge the authoritarian nationalist government of apartheid, which exterminated many of the black political activists. And there you are, you survived. So can you at least take us through of how you've managed to, simultaneously involve yourself being a student and a political activist?
Having fast-forwarded to one's activism, reason for getting involved in activism,
Yes.
There's quite a lot that we jump through. Look, you grow up in Soweto, You see your neighbor being arrested for Tom Pass.
Yes.
And is arrested and is locked up for loafer's cap.
Oh.
That the person is refusing to work. And you ask yourself, why is this happening? You ask your elders to say, so-and-so has been arrested. I didn't see him steal anything.
Yeah.
But he has met with people, policemen, who arrested him. And now I'm told he's serving 30 days imprisonment.
Oh.
Why? What has happened? These are questions that we ask normally as children. And you get to understand when they tell you that, no, don't worry. At 18 years, you would also have got to take a pass.
Yes.
A Tom Pass. And
so
this,
that was the eligible age, 18.
18.
Okay.
18. And if we were too tall like I was, at 16 you need to find one, otherwise you'd be arrested.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'm asking.
Yes. You had to travel up and about during holidays especially, having a letter to whom it may concern.
Yes.
That confirms that you are young, you are still under 18, and you are a student. Otherwise, you'd be arrested for one failing to show a pass. But secondly, you had situations where our own parents would then say to you, like my grandfather would talk about issues about land, because my grandfather was buttonholed to sell his plot in Winen, Kwanobamba.
Yes.
And move out, and he was very aggrieved about that.
Oh.
And I couldn't understand, Nkulu, why would you agree to sell your land and then the next minute you are complaining about it and you are grieved about this?
So he was compelled.
He was compelled.
And
All
what decade
because
was
of
that?
we're talking, the beginning of the 60s, where various areas were described as black spots by the then apartheid government. So the issue was to move them away from one, fertile lands.
Yes.
Therefore break their own subsistence.
Yes.
Ensure that they get employed, they go and work.
Yeah.
Secondly, when they are moved out of there, there's hardly any compensation.
Oh.
It just is on the whim of whoever was removing them at the time, at short notice to say, you will move away from here. So those are the circumstances that confronted our elders, our parents, our grandparents. And you'd hear these stories. The question would then arise, how? But ma, old man, whoever, why don't you resist these issues?
Yes.
And they would always tell you, well, like my father would say, in due course, my son, we would correct all these matters. But he never explained why. It's only at a later stage that one begins to understand the might of the government and the rigid separation, part of separate development, which was then put in place to ensure that we are forced. So as an African, clearly, we were no longer citizens of this country.
Yes.
We were not citizens. We're being kicked out. We're being treated like foreigners in our own country by the government. And that on its own politicizes you. You don't go into a class where you learn Marxism, Leninism, or whatever. The conditions actually force you to then get involved in struggle. And that is how I would explain I would answer your question.
Oh. So it is true that what the phrase says on the passbook, that in the case of a native who is not a South African citizen, so therefore blacks were regarded as natives, but disregarded, as citizens.
And
Wow.
sent to Bantustan,
Wow.
where you don't know anybody. What government would do would simply chose areas that were very barren to just shepherd us, all of us there. For you to be in Soweto, you had to qualify for what they call it, section 101B or 101A. With that section, you were allowed, therefore, to reside in Soweto, and that's what my parents somehow qualified for that.
Oh.
So it past laws were the ones that literally politicized us.
Oh.
That's only when that you realize, things are not right here, man. And when you go into the suburbs, you never see any of the whites being arrested two by two because of the pass. No. I mean, things are very nice. There are trees, streets are well paved. If you see schools, you can actually see they're very nice. Lawns have been well catered for. The surroundings, the schools, and the houses are very nice. But we were then confined into these small tin holes, which we call matchboxes. So those are the things that politicize you. Those are the things that, fortunately, when black consciousness came into being, it really heightened our awareness, being sensitized and politicized, and that's when you then begin to say, we are not subhumans. We are equally human beings. We eat exactly the same things, albeit that it depends how it is prepared.
Yeah.
And with what does it come? The 7 colors, etc.
Yeah. Right. And so, Baba Twala, you are now steeped into politics because of the circumstances, as we've just explained.
Yeah.
But this forces you at some point to have to leave the country. It forces you into exile. There are certain situations that happen, certain cases that you are involved in, certain harassment that you are subjected to. It forces you to go into exile. So please tell us about that chapter of your life. You've left South Africa. Which countries were you stationed in? How was life in exile?
Exile was quite a difficult but very memorable part of my life that I actually do reflect on from time to time. The countries I stayed in, maybe I'll start with Botswana.
Okay.
I landed in Botswana. This was after our trial. We had been arrested for activism, blamed for the 1976 uprisings. I will get to that maybe at a later stage. Okay. And when I was released, I got a 5-year suspended sentence. Not because of the kindness of the judge, but because of international pressure that was brought to bear on our case. Now, when I landed in Botswana, I landed in Botswana, sought refuge, was taken by the police, declared a refugee, and after having had consultations, because I was active at the time, after consultations with the leadership, I recall the late Joe Qabi, Untate Mahoti, and quite a few others. I then was taken to Dukwe settlement. Now, Dukwe settlement was outside of Francistown. I relate to that in my book, Struggle as a Way of Life. I came from an urban environment and suddenly I was in a deep rural, it was just bushes, trees and huts.
What year was this?
Just 1980, eh? Wow, 1980. 80 or 81? 1980, yeah, 1980. So I land in Botswana, and I'm taken to Tukwe, and for the first time, I had to contend with a fire on the ground. For the first time, I had to contend with a long drop toilet. For the first time, I just didn't know where I was. And depression actually took place there. And I got sick at some stage. I don't know what was wrong with me. I collapsed, I think, after a while. I was taken to hospital, and I ran away from that hospital. That's another story.
How did you get to Botswana? How did you leave the country and cross over?
We were part of the underground in what was at the time termed within the liberation movement the Joe Kabi machinery. I was piloted out of the country, surprise, surprise. Guess who was my driver? Joe Mamasela.
Oh, the Askari.
The Askari.
The infamous Joe.
Cold-hearted killer Askari.
Counterinsurgent.
Yes.
Who's still alive?
He is still alive somewhere. He was paid well after our return. So we left in a car driven by him. He almost compromised us in Rustenburg. I think at the time he was still not yet an NM agent.
Okay.
He then took us to a certain spot. I was with a cousin brother of mine, Chief, because it was very hot. It was very hot. When I say hot, I mean the system, the security police special branch at the time, was hot on our heels. So he managed to take us to drive us towards Mafikeng, where we were then picked up by other contacts who then piloted us through to the border. And that's how I landed in Botswana. And you know, a joke here is that, you know, when you go out of the country, we meet one lady because we, you know, our exit was organized. We left here, we arrived here on the other side of Botswana, we would be picked up. But because of the delays that took place with what's name, whoever was waiting for us on the other side then left because they thought we were no longer coming. Now, what then happened is, we are in Botswana, somewhere next to the border there, and we meet one lady. We realize now, I mean, clearly we had lost our direction now. I asked one lady, hey, sorry man, where do taxis to Gaborone stand? Are they available here? And she said, Nyara. Now, with my Zulu ear, that was an insult. She was insulting me, and I'm asking a simple question when in actual fact, my Zulu ear, he had something else, whereas she was saying, no, the taxis are over there. I almost assaulted her because I thought she was insulting me. Only to find she is saying, no, sir, taxis don't stand here, they stand there. And it's a tone that, or rather her demeanor that said to me, no. She's not insulting, but I'd already taken some quick steps towards her. But that's how we landed in Gaborone. We got a taxi from around that border area that took us all the way to Gaborone. In Gaborone, somehow we made our way and found the residence at Buntleng. And in Buntleng, we then taken over to the police. You know, after about 2 weeks, after debriefing sessions, we were taken in and we declared, and that's how we're taken to Tukwe.
Who was hosting you? Was there an NC camp there that was taking care of you?
At Tukwe, well, when I landed in Botswana, the police would then ask you, so, okay, so you are now out, so who do you want to establish contact with? Then we said the ANC. So they phoned the ANC office. And Dadema Kopo came, picked us up, and handed it over to the machinery that was there for the debriefing sessions. When those debriefing sessions were over, we then were then forced, because that was a regulation, to be taken to Francistown, the Dukwe resettlement camp. They called it Dukwe resettlement camp. So at Dukwe, it was a whole community of South Africans, with a few Zimbabweans still remaining. Remember, Zimbabwe had just gained its independence then. So we sat there, we stayed there, and in our stay, we were in a little bit of groups. There was the ANC group, the PSC group, the non-aligned group, the PCM group. Don't want to call it a ZAPO, but I think it was PCM at the time, and non-aligned, and quite a lot. We interacted very friendly with each other, albeit that we retained our common positions as a group. And the Lutheran World Federation used to provide food. So you'd go in, get beans, meal, tins of fish. So we would take all these, group it together as our group, and share, cook, domestically. Hey, chef, cooking in a 3-foot pot, and hey, it's an experience. It's an experience on its own. Yes. But those were the pleasures. Do I call it pleasures? Yes, the pleasures of exile life. So that's how I got to Dukwe, yes.
So that's Botswana. Any other country that you might want to mention?
Well, from Botswana, I then left for Zambia. In Zambia, but now this time I'm now traveling under the auspices of the ANC. I am given a ticket by the UN because I'm a refugee, and I arrive in Zambia and I'm received in Zambia. Again, it's the same process, debriefings, writing of CVs, etc., etc. But because I was already part of a machinery, then I was then taken to a select resident. Now, you see, in exile, within the ANC, I wouldn't know about other organizations. But within the ANC, you had Charleston, where students would stay in the main. But also you had other residencies, in Mtandere. Mtandere were trained cadres who were en route for South Africa, who had already trained, were going to South Africa. You had, I stayed in Roma. I then was taken to Roma. Roma in Moe Zanwan was a house which was meant for, I guess, people who fell under security. So my debriefing went there, and from there I proceeded to Angola, where again the same process goes through, But at that time I was already en route and earmarked for military training, and I then went to the GDR, what was known in South Africa as East Germany, during the old war. And I went my military training there, came back into Angola, was scheduled to have been taken to Botswana, where I should have been based, to Lesotho. But because one witness, Izzy Kuluwe, who had given evidence in our trial, was still in Lesotho, I was recalled at the airport because I think part of the leadership, part of the machinery, did not trust what I would do when I arrived in Lesotho.
And you met
to Izzy. I mean, once if you give evidence, you are a sellout. Yeah. You are a sellout, Pimpimpi. Yeah. So the likelihood of me doing something was very high, albeit that I was told, you will be posted to Lesotho and you will conform to the disciplines of the movement. I am not sure whether I would have conformed to the letter, but somehow the movement spared me, and then I was deployed in Botswana. And I went back to Botswana, and that's where I then started doing quite a lot of activities there. I talk about them also in my book, Struggle is a Way of Life.
Yes.
I think this is a good segue. The question that you had him do about exactly the role.
The role.
What
yes.
role did you play? Yeah.
The role that you played. By then, both the ANC and the PAC have brought some kind of a mutiny or insurrectionism in South Africa. So I would like to understand how you survived with the role that you played in the struggle, especially in the exile.
Yes.
It goes to show that you've traveled the subcontinent. And by then, the raids, were taking its greater toll. The apartheid government was formidable and raided the subcontinent and exterminated people in exile. So please outline how you survived, that scourge.
Yeah. Well, perhaps let me start off here. The deployment in Botswana.
Yes.
There were specific issues that had to be done. One was to assist in the building of the internal structures within the country, assist in the infiltration of cadres into the country, assist in being part of the screening processes for the new recruits that came into the country. Because as large numbers of people were coming in to join the ANC, some of them were enemy agents. Yeah. There were people who were sent with specific missions to disrupt and destroy the ANC. Remember, we were a people at war.
Yes.
So the racist regime was not going to sit by and watch the ANC, the liberation movement in broadly speaking, training people, infiltrating into the country, and bombing and doing also, disrupting their comfort. So they had their own structures too, that ensured that some people would be picked up, trained, and infiltrated into the organization. And to show you how serious the issue of infiltration was, there were times where, I remember one guy, Faro. Okay. Faro used to say he was in the youth league, or in the youth section. He was a leader of the youth section. Somehow he got compromised. I don't know where. You know what you would do? There were guys there were cadres who were guarding our headquarters in Lusaka. So, they would have to walk from their rooms, which was an office, so to speak, come open the gate and walk back. Open the gate for cars to come in, maybe of the leadership, close, the cars are in. These are people who are securing head office. And if the leadership is leaving, they must then open the gate and come and mount that. You know what you would say?
Yes.
Just to show you what an enemy agent would do. Hey, you guys, you've been walking this way and that way, this way and that way for the whole month. If you were walking this distance, if you were to take all the steps that you could have walked to South Africa. You are a trained person, you've got an AK, you're guarding the place, you've got arms. If this distance you've walked, if we were to multiply it, you would have finally reached South Africa. What are you doing here? So that demoralizes a guy who is actually playing a very crucial role in securing and protecting leadership. So that's that type of enemy agent. Now, but let me get back to Botswana, because I'm just talking about those people who are coming in. So, because this struggle was still on, you still also had a structure in the area. Rola Masinga, he's late now, was one of our senior commanders. So what he would do, one is, when people came in, They would come to the political machinery, be debriefed or tasked or trained in all sorts of issues, but those that were seen to be quite militant would be handed over to us to train them, and they must go back home, and the training thereof, it was not an intense, it was intense in terms of arms handling, small arms handling, even explosives. But we couldn't teach them heavy stuff, you know, can't be using an RPG. So there are two issues. It's pistols, it's an AK. Then it may be the issues of explosives, you know, handling TNTs, etc., etc. It's just training, because some of those people, some of those activists would then be part of the infrastructure internally to assist those who may be fully trained in Angola when they come back into the country, to assist them in all sorts of other issues. But even pull out some minor operations. Minor operation may well be the elimination of one or two prominent agent provocateurs in the area, just to ensure that they offer, you know, the NC would say, we are the shield and the spear. So with the shield, it wants to protect the majority of our people, and the spear, that lens, had to draw blood in defense of our people. I hope you can understand that. So we had to do those types of issues, and we trained them at Linsula Baratan. It was not an easy thing. Linsula Baratan is a mountain just outside of Francistown. No, not just outside of Silibe Pikwe, of Tlokweng, not far from Tlokweng. So Lobatse too, yeah. Lobatse, not Tlokweng, in Lobatse. So we used to take people there. What would happen, let me put a classic case. You are a political activist. You are identified to be one of those who needed to be trained. You come in, you are handled by the political machinery. I know nothing about that. So the person will be seconded to us, but for you to come to us for training, it means you must create a legend in Botswana so that your disappearance at home is not suspicious. You tell people, no, I'm going on holiday in Botswana, etc., etc., and spend 2 weeks. So the person would then arrive in Botswana, be handed over to report to his political headquarters. The politicians, the guys, the comrades who are dealing with the political machinery, will then hand him over to us. We would not know who this person is. I may know you, you am Mdu, but you may be coming to us as Kennedy. It's a nom to go. Where you are protected from us. The only people who know you are those that have seconded you to us. So we would then take that person in the 2 weeks. These are the issues we'll do. It's intense political education in terms of who the ANC is, just to make you understand the history of the ANC, because now we're going to train you to handle firearms. Now you can't go around shooting with that firearm. You need to be disciplined. You need to know, because politics was a central element for those who were going to handle arms. And because of that, you would then come, stay with us. We would train you politically. We would train you in arms, small arms handling. And you would also go and do practicals. And that's where the mountain came in. It became our firing zone. We did that at night, away from prying eyes, so that we train you there. When we finish, and remember, we're training you in the conditions of underground, because even the police are not supposed to be knowing that we're doing training here. Yes. So we will train you. When we're done, you come back. We then hand you over, when you are ready, to your political machinery, who would then take you forward. What you are going to do where, that's not our business. There was an issue of compartmentalization. I'm talking about the need to know. So you didn't know everything. You just knew those areas that you were supposed to participate in. And that on its own was part of the security for me, security for you, and security for those who you would be dealing with internally. So that's the general overall strategy. I mean, the others who did quite a lot of other methods, the smuggling of arms into the country, where a car would be brought in, removing panels, packaging it, smuggling some of the explosives and whatever that goes in. So it was quite a whole involved activity in terms of your presence in a frontline state. And guess what? All this would happen under conditions of underground.
Oh.
And when I'm saying underground, clearly we were not really staying underground.
Yes.
You would be above police, so you must avoid the police, the Botswana police, who want to arrest you and send you to Dukwe, because South Africa was saying we don't want to see terrorists around the area. Oh yes, we were called terrorists at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Botswana did its best to comply to South Africa's mandate, but to some extent they also would look to the side.
Yes, yes.
During our stay in Botswana, we actually survived because of the kindness of strangers. People who didn't know us, but people who empathized and supported our struggle and felt our oppression was their oppression. And therefore, they supported us. They were part of the struggle to ensure that we topple the racist regime.
Bob Twala, you write a lot about those experiences in the book, Struggle as a Way of Life.
Yeah.
You talk about the trial, the famous Soweto 11 trial, which you were part of. And you talk about your father. You talk about, but I have to mention your daughter writes a very impressive foreword to the book, very, very well written. Why did you decide to write this book? And are there any particular stories maybe that you'd like to highlight from the book? It's a heart-wrenching, really. I found that there were some chapters that were scary when you spoke about your father and your time at John Foster Square. I found that very scary. But also there are some positive parts to the book. What can you share with us? Why did you write this book?
This is not my story. This is our story. The story of a lot of activists who were my colleagues, were my comrades, people I lived with, the people I ran up and down the country with, tortured, brutalized with. But in the main, it's a story it's a history that we must preserve and commit to paper for those that do not know, especially our youth. Most of us are going to die. Most of us have already died. There are those who may never come out of some of the traumas that were visited upon them. I have my own traumas too. And this, you refer to John Foster Square, it really traumatized me. That's the worst part of my life that I had to undergo for a cause that was just. If I had to do it again, I will, with a bright smile. I did that during my youth. So our history, we need to document it and find a way to ensure that we can assist the youth that follows us to take up the challenge, to ensure that they realize the next part. Our role was political emancipation. Political emancipation. The economic part still remains. The youth must take that up, must pick up the cudgels and ensure that we can have this country being just, that we can have peace, equality, and I mean qualitative equality within us. Let's have the land back. Let's leave all these apologies that were busy, no, hey, this and that, or some of the nonsensical statements that if land is given to black people, they will be farming in South Africa because we will not be able to produce food. I had to sit down and say, guys, this is what we went through. There are people that died. You see, I voted. I'm a proud voter. I voted. There are people who refuse to vote. And that is an insult. It's like spitting onto the graves of those that died to secure the vote. That's the reason why I had to shine. I'm hoping I'll be able to inspire one or two persons, especially the young generation, to be able to appreciate what it took for us to have this freedom that we may take very lightly and get involved in Nyaupe activities, get involved in criminal activities, corruption that is bedeviling this country. There was a time when we had values and were ethical. And that's what happened. Throughout I'm talking about my generation. Indeed, some of my generation are in leadership today. What are they doing? Have they forgotten where we come from? So those are the reasons why I thought I should write this book. You want to know what it is that, perhaps there's a section that you should read about forgiveness.
Yes.
It's not really forgiveness in the true sense of the word, but we go through life with the traumas and remembering what it is. But we have to live and go forward, not embittered and being vengeful.
Yes.
You see, much has been done unto us. Maybe we don't have to reverse to give back the same thing. You know, when you hear stories of, apartheid, man, it's over, grow up, move on. Some people don't understand. You just say, move on. Do you know what you are talking about? Do you know what people endured to be where we are? And maybe some of my white counterparts do not understand it. All they remember is their small boys at the border fighting us. So that's the reason why I thought I should share. Because if history is not committed to paper, then it disappears. It will evaporate.
Babu Nkosinathi, which means God is with us.
Yeah.
Your post-apartheid endeavors, which from what you've said, I would like to believe that you've attained them through a meritocracy, among other things. And I would like to believe that it's attributable to your past experience. So can you please take us through that and how, you've managed to put everything together, irrespective of, the brutality and, most of the times, solitary confinement, among other things, which the political activists had to endure during apartheid. So the post-apartheid endeavors.
Well, when 94 came, I think we're all happy and satisfied and hoped that all would be well.
Yes.
We had the Freedom Charter, we had so many good things. Mandela came out of prison, and we did very good, and the Rainbow Nation came out. Wow, 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 wow. It was good. But it is the best that we sought to achieve. And that still has not happened. We still have got long drop toilets. We still have got children dying miserable deaths. There is no equality. Our children are still, and the youth, far from the rosiness and the world that we envisaged, framed within the Freedom Charter. So we have abandoned those things. We're sliding back because of a whole range of issues. Corruption, you name it. And corruption is basically the issue that has taken us back. It is an expectation that the youth who are marginalized in this country, I mean, you still have got a 70-year-old, sitting in parliament, a 65 plus sitting in parliament, and there's ministers, etc. What has happened to the youth? They are nowhere in the corridors of power. They are nowhere. Well, we now have got a female Chief Justice.
Yes.
So the women are hesitantly coming up. But I'm sure we're going to clobber them down again, take them back. Because patriarchy is dominant. Look at our cabinet today. Look at the state of our economy. It's not anything to be proud of. The youth must rise. That's post-apartheid. The economy is still in secluded hands. Never mind the craziness of Donald Trump and his AfriForum accolades. Mm-hmm. But we still need to change. What we envisaged in '76, when fear was replaced by defiance, should not wither away like a state. We still need progress.
Wow.
Well said.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that message to the youth. Yes. And encouraging us not to be complacent and to expect things to be given to us, but it's our fight that we need to carry on. And you say that in the book. You actually, towards the end of the book, you actually mention a few ideas that you think could help the youth going forward, and you suggest this to our government. In closing, Bab Twala, any last words? Any last words, maybe a message to the youth? You've actually given a message to the youth, but maybe a message now to South Africans. Any last words that you'd like to share with us as we conclude this conversation?
Our country at the moment doesn't seem to be moving forward. With multitudes of illegal immigrants in the country. And suddenly we hear this story of saying the Freedom Charter must be changed, that clause that South Africa belongs to all who live in it must be changed. No. Let us stand steadfast on this route, because the context of South Africa belonging to all who live in it was decidedly about South Africans. Because we as natives were illegals in this country, we're foreigners. So when we said South Africa belongs to all of us, we meant that. What we ought to do, let's ramp up our activities, close borders, if needs be. Let's open the doorways here for all these illegal immigrants. But for us to be able to do that, it means we need leadership born out of integrity and ethical belonging. And this is what we need. These are the values we need. Yes, let's have these problems. Let's get our act together. Let's do something about it ourselves and not follow the narrative of being seen as being xenophobic. Remember, we were beneficiaries ourselves of the kindness of strangers in a whole variety of ways. They supported us, but not because it is payback time now. There never will be a payback time. But let there be legality emphasized and articulated to the best of our abilities. Thank you. That is all I could say.
Thank you.
Baba, Nyamande, it was an honor to have you and for you to, take us through your journey. We thank God that you are here and you've shared a very powerful story and a message.
And thank you all for joining us. For more information on the Apartheid Museum, please visit our website, which is www.apartheidmuseum.org. Or you can go to Facebook. It is Apartheid Museum on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it is @Apartheid Museum. And you can visit our YouTube channel as well, where you can find all our podcasts and all our productions. And you can follow us further from there. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to Bab Twala. Thank you, my colleague Ntuli. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.